Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This week we had some video technical difficulties, if you will, but we wanted to make sure that we got the message into your hands because really this is our vision collection, meaning that everything we do this year is going to come out of this collection right here. And so if you call Life High home at all, we hope that you'll really take these talks in, but beyond that you would ask God, how can I play a part in what you're doing and what you're speaking and in what you want to do? And really last week, we didn't only have some technical difficulties, but we had some difficulties within service. We had some challenges within service that caused service to be cut a little bit short. And so I just want to make sure that we are all up to speed as we head into week 2 of our vision collection. And really, the message I want to preach to you today, the message I want to preach to you to start off this collection is this idea of the Chameleon Cost. Or if you don't like that title, you can call it Comfortable and Confused. Really where this vision for this year came out of is it came out of a moment one night after I got on a date with Lex and came home, we hung out, she went to sleep, and I went to the back porch and started processing with God. And really, God started to show me how through me still having a need to gain and save my life, that I was losing identity that He had for me, that I was losing what He had spoken over me, some of my uniqueness, some of my giftings that He had spoken over me. And it was really through comparison with other people, competing with other people, or worshiping, idolizing other people that I was losing my identity as I tried to gain something by competing with people, as I tried to save my life by comparing with people, as I tried to gain something by idolizing other people and trying to be like they were and doing what they were doing. And God really started to show me this word all. And that's the word for this year is all. And I know it sounds weird, but bear with me. Is He began to show me why would we compare, compete, or idolize other people when in Romans 3 it tells us that all are sinners and all have fallen short of the glory of God. Not only did He show me that we're all sinners, but He showed me and reminded me that His words when He was on the earth and is Jesus, His words were so very clear that if you want to gain your life, you need to lose your life. If you want to save your life, you need to lay down your life. Because as we worship Him with all of our being and give Him all of our life, He promises that we will actually find the reason why we were created and made, which was to be in relationship with Him. And it's in giving all of our heart over to Him and laying down all of our life to Him that we discover all that we were made to be. God has a plan for your life. God has a purpose for your life. And in Jeremiah 29, 11 through 14, He tells us that we'll find that purpose, we'll find those plans when we search for Him with all of our heart. And so we see that why would we compare, compete, or idolize? We're all just sinners. Why would I compare and compete with other sinners that are all in the same category? And we're really meant to give all of our life in worship to Jesus. And when we do that, when we give all of our life to Him, we discover all of the plans and purposes that He has for us. And really, that's a one-stop shop because all the things we need are found in Him. Everything that pertains to life and godliness is found in Jesus. All the promises of God are yes and amen in Jesus. All things were made by Him and they were made for Him and were made from Him. And all things are going to Him. All things are His. And so all that we need is found in Him. And this word all just began to resonate with me. And it's the word that I felt like God wanted me to share with you guys this year. And this word's going to take on a little bit different shape for our community, but He took me to Acts 2 where all the believers were together and they had all things in common as they worshiped Jesus and people were being added to their number day by day, those that were being saved. And we're talking about in a place of massive persecution. I believe this year we're going to go all in. I believe this year we're going to be all for Jesus. I believe this year we're going to be all for His church. I believe this year we're going to be all for the world around us, that they would know Jesus as well, all in devotion to the one who deserves it. And it has all that we need. That's the word for this year. It's all. I want to give you the vision very clearly because the Bible tells us to write the vision down, make it clear so that we can run. I want you to know what we're going after this year in Life High, and I want you to be able to run. And so here's the vision as clear as day. It's not cute, but it's clear. And it says this: in a world where human beings are attempting to save and gain their lives by fitting in when it's costly and trying to be seen as great when it's convenient, may Life High be a place that is full of teenagers who laid down all of their life in all-in devotion to Jesus. And in doing so, become all of the person that God has called them to be, that God has planned and purposed them to be, so that Jesus can become famous in the world around them. May we learn this year how to be all for Jesus, all for his church, and all for our world. I want to break down this week that very first part that says, in a world where human beings attempt to gain and save their lives by fitting in when it's costly and trying to be seen as great when it's convenient. That's really the tension that I was wrestling in my heart that night on my porch. And I think that's the tension that so many of us wrestle, that we want to follow Jesus. We want to be used by Jesus. We want what Jesus offers, yet we find ourselves in this tension of having moments where we want to gain our life out of ambition and we don't see God about it. We just go and try to gain it. We have moments of insecurity where we just want to blend in with our surroundings and save our life so that we don't lose face or lose reputation around other people. I remember one time moving with my parents. We moved to Borger. And I remember playing baseball there. And I remember as a freshman working out with the varsity team. And I remember I wanted to be great. I wanted to gain reputation through performance, that I would play great and gain reputation. But I found myself at the same time when we were on bus rides or in the locker room wanting to save my life by blending in and not bringing too much attention and not being weird and fitting in. While then at the same time on Wednesday night going to church and saying, God, I want all that you are. I think that's the tension that many of us live in, is that we compartmentalize our life and we have pieces of our life that are different in different circumstances and situations, blending in to the moments, trying to stand out when it benefits us. And what it reminds me of is a chameleon. Because chameleons, they blend into their surroundings in order to preserve their life. And I think so many times we compromise our faith to save our plans or our purposes or our reputation in moments where it's scary to stand firm in our faith. But then when it's convenient for us to talk about Jesus, or it's convenient for us to be a Christian, or it's convenient, it has some type of profit for us or some type of gain for us, then we will stand up for our faith in those moments. And what it shows me is that we have turned Christianity into a role. And it's a role that we play in certain environments, but then we're like a chameleon in other environments because we don't want to pay the price it costs to follow Jesus. We just want the benefits that he offers. And what really there's a word for this, and the word is hypocrite. And a lot of us, we live as Christian hypocrites. And Jesus says this about hypocrisy. He says, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You clean the outside of the cup. You put on a show for others to see because you think it gains you something. Yet on the inside of the dish, you're full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and the dish, and then the outside also will be clean. Fall in love with me on the inside. Take on the identity of knowing God, and then it will flow into every area of your life, because we were never meant to compartmentalize our faith. We were meant to give God all of our life. When Jesus says this word, woe to hypocrites, it is not like Drake who is running through the six with his woes. Woe means yo in trouble. Woe means there's something wrong with this situation. You shouldn't be a hypocrite playing a role on the outside, yet not loving Jesus on the inside, giving Jesus only part of your heart on the inside, yet in certain moments playing the act when it's convenient and comfortable for you. Hypocrisy is not a good place to be. And it's not just not a good place to be because it causes some people not to believe in Jesus like we think most of the time, but hypocrisy has a cost. Being a chameleon when you're a Christian and blending into your surroundings and preserving your life and still trying to gain your life and save your life while following Jesus, it has a cost. And really it has a cost because this hypocrisy means acting. None of us want to be an actor in any sphere of our life. None of us who go to the gym to work out want to be an actor, having all the clothes, having all the gear, yet not being able to have the strength to lift the weight. None of us who are in sports want to be an actor, having all the best new apparel, the best new gear, the best new equipment, yet when it comes time to perform, cannot perform. None of us want to be an actor when it comes to playing in band. None of us want to have the new instrument and have everything shiny and nice. Yet when it comes time to play the notes, not be able to play the notes. None of us want to be an actor in any phase of our life. Why? Because it's playing a role and it's insecurity, because at any moment you could be exposed to be a fraud. There's no confidence in acting. It's just a role you play. But hear me right now. Christianity is not a role you play. It is an identity that you receive and embrace. Christianity is not an act. Christianity is not just a part of your life. Christianity is an identity that you and I receive and embrace. Hear me, you were never made to search for identity. You were never made to try to search to figure out who you were. You were never made to try to search for your gender identity. You were never made to try to search for your sexual identity. You were never made to try to search for your fulfillment identity through performance and accolades. You were never made for that. You were made to search for God, and you were made to find God. And when you found him, you were made to embrace and receive identity from him. That's why the Bible tells us that, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old is gone. The new is here in 2 Corinthians 5:17. What is it saying? It's saying that when you become a Christian, the old you is gone and done and put away with. You have a new identity to receive. And not just that, now you have to learn how to embrace it in all areas of your life. Christianity is not a role we play. It is an identity that we receive. But many people live their lives as Christian cultural chameleons, blending in whenever it's easy, instead of surrendering their all to Jesus, because Jesus deserves it. Hear me. I'm sorry if anyone ever told you that following Jesus is easy. Following Jesus is not easy, it is difficult. And it is not difficult because he asks us to pay a price that isn't worth paying. It is just difficult because our priorities have been misaligned. Our flesh craves things it should not because of our sin nature. And the environment we're in the world, it does not celebrate righteousness, it celebrates flesh. And so the environment that we're in and our sin nature, it craves flesh. And so God says that we have to pay a price of surrendering it all to him, of standing up for him in moments where it's uncomfortable and not convenient and not easy, that he wants all of our life. And the only reason it feels like a high cost is just because we've become so accustomed to things we were never meant to live in. Yet so many people never do it because they think, oh, it's just too hard. But hear me, it's worth it. It's worth it. Jesus is worth it. He's worth your life. He's worth it all. Jesus, following him may be difficult at times, but there is nothing more fulfilling or satisfying. There is nothing better than Jesus. May we not be a place that's full of cultural Christian chameleons that blend in, that talk just like everybody else, that flip everybody off on Instagram just like everybody else, that every song they post on the background of their TikTok or their Instagram has perverse language in it. May we not be cultural chameleons blending into TikTok, blending into Instagram with the Bible verse in our bio and talking about God when we're going through a hard moment, hoping that he'll get us out of it. May we not be those types of Christians. May all of our life be surrendered to him, no matter how hard it is to be different, because we know that it's worth it. And you know why I know there's hope for you and I in our hypocrisy? There's hope because I know a guy in the Bible. And there's more than one guy in the Bible, but I know one guy in the Bible in particular that he was in this place of hypocrisy. He was the class brown nose who spoke up and earned you more homework. He was the one that didn't listen at all. He would ask questions, but he wouldn't really listen. I mean, it was like my little boy. It was like he was asking in order to get what he wanted. He wasn't asking in order to enjoy Jesus and learn from Jesus. He was prideful. He was ambitious in the wrong way, selfishly. He was involved definitely in both the arguments about which disciple is the greatest. He wants power and he wants gain, and he walks on water but then gets afraid of wind, and he then, when it's convenient, tells Jesus, I'll die for you, Jesus. And Jesus says, no, you'll deny me. And then the minute it is costly and doesn't profit him and he's around a fire, he denies Jesus. The guy I'm talking about is Peter. Peter's narratives in the gospel is of someone who believes in Jesus, is going to heaven, and he's been given a new identity by Jesus when he says, on this rock, Peter, I will build my church. Yet he is double-minded. He still is king of his own life. He still has selfish ambition. He's still a chameleon at times, blending in at the campfire. No, I don't know him. And I want to show you the cost that Peter paid for being a cultural chameleon. Remember, being a hypocrite, being an actor, it's exhausting. It doesn't just affect other people, it affects you. There's a cost. Watch Peter's cost. Peter, he finds himself denying Jesus, blending in like a chameleon. And the rock who Jesus is going to build his church on, the one who claimed, I'll be the greatest, the one who was outspoken, the one who was overconfident, the one who was ambitious, ends up on a shore, ends up on a beach, insecure, exhausted, and doubting. James 1 tells us this is exactly what will happen in your double-mindedness, in your hypocrisy, in your cultural chameleon Christianity, is that you will end up comfortable because you will not pay the price in culture, but you, rest assured, will end up confused. Confused about your calling, confused about your identity, confused about if God loves you, confused if God has a purpose for you. When you and I deny the cost that Jesus tells us to pay in following him, we end up comfortable, but we also end up confused, unstable in all of our ways. And Peter finds himself on this shore, comfortable and confused. Comfortable yet exhausted, comfortable yet insecure, comfortable but wondering, is it all over? Is it all over? Comfortable yet confused. Peter didn't pass the test of hypocrisy. He declared Jesus when it was easy and it profited him, but he denied Jesus when it was hard and it cost him. And he ends up comfortable and he ends up confused. But there's hope. There's hope. This is where I want to end this week. Before we get into next week, we're going to talk about why there's hope next week and really the end of this story. But I want to tell you today that if you're in this place of a hypocrisy, playing a role, acting, and you're exhausted, Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. I'll give you rest. If you're feeling insecure, Jesus says, I make you the righteousness of God. You need to receive that identity from him and embrace it. If you're feeling fearful and full of shame, he says, I didn't give you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love and power and a sound mind. I'm telling you, all you got to do is lose your life and surrender to trusting Jesus. Make a commitment that Jesus, I give it all to you. Because just like in Peter's story, there's hope. There's hope for you, just like there was for Peter. Why? Because Jesus will show up on your shore. Jesus will show up. Jesus isn't giving up on you. Hear me. God is patient. Peter will tell us in 2 Peter that God's timeline isn't like our timeline. God is patient. But hear me, urgently run to him, because while God is patient, life is short. And James will tell us in chapter 4 that life is but a vapor, but a mist, here today and gone tomorrow. Hear me. God is patient. Life is short. Urgently come to him, all who are weary and heavy laden, and he will give you rest. He has identity for you to receive and embrace. I want to finish up today by reminding you at Life High this year, we're not compartmentalizing our faith. We're not just running to Jesus some of the time. We're running to him with all of our life. Why? Because he's patient and he's loving and he's kind and he has rest for our soul. He has identity for us to receive and embrace. Are you insecure today? Run to him and receive identity. Are you exhausted today? Run to him and receive identity. Are you fearful and feeling full of shame today? Run to him and receive identity that he has for you. All he needs is all of your heart. All he needs is for us to stop playing a role. All he needs is for us to stop acting and trust him with all of our life, surrendering all of our life to him. And I'm telling you right now that his promises can be taken to the bank. He has not broken his promises once to me, and he won't break his promises to you either. Let's give him all of our heart this year and trust him with it. Let's not be hypocrites. Let's not play a role. Let's take on the fullness of the identity that God has for sons and daughters of God. I want to let you this. There's nothing there's nothing secular you do. If you're a Jesus follower, your entire identity is new now. And everywhere you walk into is sacred. You're set apart to be used by God. In every space you walk into, school set apart to be used by God. Instagram set apart to be used by God. TikTok set apart to be used by God. At your house with your family, set apart to be used by God. What would happen if a bunch of teenagers here at Life High, the some 40 or 50 teenagers that parents don't come to church actively, what would happen if you gave Jesus all of your life and he began to transform it and you began to receive and embrace new identity, and you begin to walk into your house knowing I'm sacred and I'm set apart. I will honor, I will love, I will serve, I will give, I will be patient, I will be kind, I will be gentle, I will have self-control, I will serve my family, and I will serve Jesus. What could happen if you just gave him all of your life and he began to pour out his spirit on you? What could happen if you stopped just playing church and playing a role, but began to embrace the entirety of the identity that he has for you? What could happen in my life? Let's not play roles any longer. Let's embrace the fullness of what God has for us in Jesus. Next week, we're going to look at what were some of the elements in Peter's life that caused him to go from declaring Jesus when it was convenient and denying Jesus when it was costly to a moment where he stands up and in a costly moment, he declares Jesus. What are the elements in Peter's life that turn him around, that change his trajectory? What are the elements that cause him to receive the identity of being the rock that Jesus said he would be? Next week, we're going to look at that. Tomorrow is Wednesday night. We're going to look at it. And I'd love for you to be here. We love you. So proud of you. And believing that this year we're going to be all for Jesus, all for his church, and all for our world. Peace.